Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to Everything Meta, episode 16, where you get today from me some discussion about the new direction of the Science DAO Journal. We also have, as usual, Joey. Thank you for being here. Welcome, everybody.
Okay.
Hey, so Joey, I don't know, how do you want to start? I can dive right in. You can ask some questions. I can go through the presentation. You choose.
Man, I think you go ahead and get it done. I think this is something that you've been focusing on for a while, and you're going to be able to explain it a lot better than I can. So,
Sweet. On it. All right. So, for those of you who are not so familiar with journals, we're looking at very specific industry specific research area specific information. It's not going to be necessarily something that the general public is going to care as much about unless they are supporters of the sciences. We are targeting an audience of scientists in a specific niche, and that is what's going to help bring relevancy to the journal. So it's important, I guess, on the way for those of you who are not aware to point out we cannot go in and, for instance, read a bunch of other journals or scrape them and copy the articles from those journals and put them in our journal because those articles are the intellectual property of the journals in which they are published. So it's very important that we entice people to want to publish their data in our journal so that it is then either the property of the DAO or as the DAO decides to open it up to the space. But that way there's no copyright infringement or intellectual property problems along the way. Moving along, some of the bigger, more important aspects of being published in a journal, specifically if you're in the sciences or if you're in academia, is the fact that the peer review process of journaling is what validates the research. In other words, you want your research to be looked at by someone or some a group of someone's who are familiar with the field and who can either give a thumbs up or thumbs down to say this is headed in the right track based on everything we know. It looks good. It looks like legit research versus uh, this isn't viable. This isn't likely to be true. That's where the peer review process comes in. Someone who knows what you are trying to do, who has some at least remote idea of what you're doing, to look at and assess your research to determine whether or not it has legs. And so we want to make sure that we're able to do that as well. But what we don't want to do is kind of slow the process down, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. So making sure that we have some level of peer review will be very important in the journal process. And having said that, we have to also consider that if we're not able to provide that peer review, there is not a high likelihood that a serious uh, professional in the field would want to publish with us uh, because either A, they would have preferred to have gotten the publication credit in a ranked or a proper, if you will, journal, and then once they've published there, they can't turn around and publish the same article with us, which means we'd likely be second. So what I'm looking at is to figure out the best way that we can go from uh, to recruit people to come in to publish with us that cuts the time down so that we so that the time from of the research to the dissemination of that information is as short as possible while still providing that peer review process.
nice.
So,
Hey, Ken, your mic just started to switch over again.
oh, all right, hold on a second. Let me see what I can do. Sorry, guys and gals. Is it any better?
No.
Nope. All right. Try.
You're back.
Yeah, don't worry. I didn't bend you. Is it better now? Now, no.
It's not. I'm not sure.
Um,
Maybe it won't be bothersome, but it is, it's doing that thing that it does.
it's yeah, it's so weird because I haven't changed anything. So let me I want to make sure I'm clear for the folks that are listening. Uh, give me one more crack at this thing before I pick it up again. Um,
Sorry guys, I'm interrupted Ken's flow there.
let's see.
Al
Hopefully,
F, a big shout out to Al. He's able to just turn around a lot of these, a lot of this information into these in these nice presentations so quickly.
yes, Al. Thank you.
Oh, it sounds good.
Sweet.
Yep. Sorry about
All
that.
right. Thanks for saying though. It's better the awkward pause than to complete the whole thing and no one wants to hear it. Let's see. So yeah, so the typical time that that the typical publication takes to get to the public is about 6 months from any like the standard kind of process right now that we have for journaling.
Six
Um,
months?
yeah, it could be 6 months. It
My
could be as
goodness.
high as a year. Yeah, like you submit to a journal, then they take a while to you know to review, and then the review process is kind of iterative. You're usually going to have 2 3 reviewers, and then from that process you're going to then maybe get published in, if it's like a quarterly journal for instance, the next issue might not be out. Like, let's say if I were approved now, but you already had all your material for September, I might not get into your issue until December.
My yeah.
Right.
That's terrible because sometimes it's like current information that needs to get out there, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My
Yeah.
goodness. So solving that would be one thing itself.
For sure. And one of the things I was saying in the Twitter space just recently is, part of that is the ability to publish incomplete research, meaning if you have a 5 step process and you've only completed step one, that would be very helpful for us to help facilitate, because someone else doing similar research could now understand what happens in step one and expedite that part and easily get to step two to help try to conduct the same research or similar research with some variant, um, without having to basically reinvent the wheel. So being able, the sooner we can get the information out to the public, the more quickly or the more of kind of the repetitive process we can spare people in science, and that also will then cost them less money from not having to replicate existing research. Okay, so yeah, so if then we can figure this out, with in terms of the time in the public that it takes for the public to see the data from a journal, and we can figure out the peer review process so that people want to publish with us and that we're the journal's being taken seriously, then what we can do is basically create what I'm calling, just so you guys can conceptualize it. It's like Wikipedia for DSci. And what it allows a scientist to do is to upload their information. It's available immediately for anybody who wants to see it. And we can then have a group of vetted scientists whose job it is to perform peer review, um, on these articles real time on the platform by up and down votes, similar to how obviously Wiki works now. I'll also think about it somewhat like the Reddit model of, thumbs up, kind of the more upvotes you get, the more from the researchers, the kind of more legitimacy your research has. And this allows, again, for that easy upload, which gets the information out, but also a peer review. But the peer review does not have to exist before the article is released. So, in other words, anyone can upload. Um, every bit of data we collect is going to be acceptable, and then from that point, it will be upvoted or not. All right. Um, I'm gonna maybe. Do you have any questions, or can you imagine what someone would be asking if more people were here, Joy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think just to conceptualize or to visualize in my head, like just how Wikipedia is one of the strongest, you know, gatherers of various keywords for
Mm-hmm.
Google. When somebody searches somebody, Wikipedia pops up. For this, it's like it would almost be the like using the Google algorithm to turn it into a glossary, right? Of
Correct.
of new scientific research, so to speak. Um, if there's some way, a scientist or a lab, if they're trying to, they're trying to point a fellow, like a colleague or a potential partner or whoever it might be, if they're trying to point them to their work, they should be able to just say like, oh, y- you know, type in this into Google, and somehow that brings up all of their published papers that are already peer reviewed, that somebody can see kind of all in one place, which would
Sure.
legitimize, well, just having that extra bit, that extra peer review um, layer, just so that anybody can't just publish anything that they want, right? As opposed to sending them to like, one journal and then another journal and then another journal, right? Like, and hopping around and seeing different stages, but that's like 6 months ago, right? From what
Right.
you're saying, it's like
Right.
6 month old work, right? Whereas, getting current, even in our work here, getting 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 current, if we were to put out an article and it's like covering something 6 months ago, like it is way out of, it is obsolete
Yeah,
data.
for
Right.
sure. Yeah.
So yeah,
And to
like
add to that, Joey, the thing that I didn't mention is like the possibility that you could submit to a journal and still wait for their initial review and then be rejected before you
yeah,
then go submit to another journal.
right,
Right. So
right.
that can certainly stretch the process out. Like the 6 to 12 months is, in some ways, like the best case scenario.
Yeah, like kind of
Yeah.
what I can imagine for the future, right, is somebody could, especially if they're raising money, right? Like the idea is that when they're on here and where everybody's able to see like the steps of the research and keep them up to date, it's almost like a Facebook, for their research. Like we're able to stay up to date with their
With where they
progress,
are. Yeah. Hmm.
and so and see, like, maybe it's not a picture, maybe it's not like a picture of their day and their story, you know what I mean, but they possibly could, like, hey, I'm in the lab, take a picture, and include that picture of whatever they're working on with their journal entry that day, so to speak. And yeah, I think I think it's super cool just because if they're trying to raise money out there, right? A lot of times what needs to happen is a company needs to put together a package, right? And part of that package is going to be some publicity. So they can be, they can say like, okay, we've gotten this done. This is where we are. We're published here. Like these are some of the people that we're talking to, right? And that garners more attention, right, than just people in the know. um, and so if they're able to upload journal entries, they can be like, they can include that in maybe their pitch, right? Be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
here, this is where we're at. These are, you can follow along with our work. It's being reviewed by so and so, right?
For
Who
sure.
might be
Yeah.
like, super legitimate, right? So I think that it can help all around, not only for making the public aware. Number one, making the public aware, right?
Mhm.
Um, legitimizing their research, right? Uh, having up to date news and entries based on their research, right? And
Mhm.
and then having all of their information all in one place, so it's easy to send to somebody, whether it's for raising money or just education. It could even be a teacher, right? Because there's lots of professors that perform research, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
A-
Yep.
and maybe the class is learning about their research, right? N- so like they can just follow up to date, on their, you know on their on where they're going with the research. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
There's
so that's the way
certain.
that I see it. I don't know about a question
Yeah.
from the gallery, but just to kind of give a visual on what it could be like, right?
Well, yeah. So that, and so just to kind of double back and make sure I'm being as specific as possible, we're looking at, again, maybe this is more of a summation, but a data where information is uploaded instantly. The review process happens in the near future afterwards, but the information is publicly available right away. It is peer reviewed so that it is advantageous still for the researchers to post with us, and we'll start off with one or two niches early and look to expand that as quickly as it makes sense to scale. Um, looking at ways that maybe down the road, if there's a desire to, that the journal could be monetized. We could certainly do something with regard to money directly from users, from subscriptions, but it also could be ad revenue from labs, from schools, from other interested parties, suppliers. So these are things that I think could help to feed money back to the DAO down the road. I am of the belief that in this early stage, that what we do first is build out the proof of concept before trying to monetize it. um, it will also allow us to kind of fly more quickly. I think that eventually, if what we do is start creating partnerships with other folks, they're going to want their hands in, like, to have some input here and there, and publish this, not that, or I'll participate if it's this, but I can't fund that. And so right now, just the freedom, and the ability to go and to build the platform, I think, is most advantageous. Um, and yeah, so uh, what I will do in this space is first kind of go gather the uh, the researchers and the reviewers, um, based on the subject matter. We're looking at diabetes. We're looking at uh, 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 starvation, or research for
Food
for
scarcity.
prevent starvation. Yes, thank you. And for water scarcity, the solutions people are looking to solve the water scarcity problem as well to start. And so what that looks like is going out to, going through journals, finding the top researchers in these spaces, finding the secondary researchers in these spaces, finding new researchers in these spaces, and recruiting them to either participate in terms of their submission or to recommend people to publish with us, and also then to be reviewers for us, just to kind of create those relationships, build out a good panel of reviewers that are trusted folks in the community, and that's what I'll be doing. And then obviously to vet them. So again, anybody can upload, but only certain people can review. In order to be a reviewer, we have to make sure that they're legit, and that's the other thing that I'll be participating with. At some point, this this will be larger than a one person operation. We don't have the necessarily at the moment a specific role for who what the next person will be to kind of join the team, but it's going to happen. We're going to need some help, maybe some volunteer help, some other things of that nature, and we will certainly keep everyone posted. And that is the conclusion of this presentation without any additional questions. But Peyote, what do you have in mind? You probably have something
Oh,
that
yeah. I mean, I just think that there's, if you can make it so that there's zero reason why somebody wouldn't publish, right? Or submit for publishing on the platform. When people, I think when scientists out there, when they realize, excuse me, when they when they realize who is looking at the journal, right? Like
mm,
the actual core group of people, the ability to raise funds, right? Um, I mean, it could be it's almost like I would want, like, if I knew a very specific group of people. I don't do this that often anymore, but I think if you knew a specific group of people that are trying to help, right, are going to be looking at this,
mm,
um, and can be pointed to it, then it's in everybody's best interest, or it's in the best interest of the researcher to publish on here, right? Because yes, like publishing in a very large journal is going to be good and we'll get more and more eyes, right?
yeah,
But you know, there's similar there's similar folks, that are going to be looking at this journal as well.
sure,
It's not any less. I mean, whether it's some research lab or venture firm in Luxembourg or Sweden or Asia, they're gonna, like, they'll already be looking at this one, right? So
right,
I
right,
I think that it is beneficial to the people publishing, and I think that if we can make that fairly clear, then we'll have a lot of participants, right?
yeah,
So yeah, there's going to be, especially for the benefit of the people working right on this, and the DAO, so on and so forth. Finding a good model that is as free as possible for publishers, right? Whether it's from ad revenue, it's potential that depending on traffic, somebody could pay, or a sponsor, right, could pay to send something up further on the list,
mm,
right, or make it more visible. And I think in that strategy, this might sound funny, but if you were like a lead investor in a particular company that is publishing, right, on this platform, and you're moving into your round of, you're moving into your fundraise, and you're the lead investor,
mm,
if I was to, I would personally be like, okay, let's pay for, to get to the top,
sure,
um, so we can kind of circulate that information a little bit better. so I can do a bit better job. Maybe not a better job as a lead, but maybe entice some other people, or at least get the information in front of their eyes better. So I think that we really dive in and look at some of the you know models, um, for to commercialize the platform. I think there's a lot of things that you can do and still kind of stay into your, your philosophy of making it as available as possible, right? Um, so
For sure.
so
Yeah.
yeah, certain paid trending slots, whatever it might be. So
Yeah, there absolutely are some opportunities. I think, and I think some of them will expose themselves as we play this thing out.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, there's tons of publicly traded companies with some decent budgets, right? That might want to y like I don't know, they're selling stock or whatever they might be, but I think you could,
mhm,
depending on which this is something that the DAO might not fully understand yet, or maybe they do and they can kinda see the direction, but, like, let's say that there is a new biotech, something, and they're trying to, usually they do PR newswire. Right, can we
mhm,
get some publicly traded companies to publish on ours and have that get released to their shareholders,
right,
right?
right.
And then also if there's, like, a fair amount of viewership or participants, right, in the like, looking at the information, can we get them to pay to trend on
Mhm,
the
mhm.
page, right? What will paying to trend, translate into more people buying that stock? Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, so and then how much is that worth, right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
I can see that working. Always just wanted to be mindful that we're not creating too much of a pay to play environment where
for sure.
people don't want to publish because you're like, what's you know, like the merits of the research have to be more important than like one's willingness to get proper placement, if you will. So, but
For
I'm
sure.
sure there's a way we could do it.
Well, I wonder how to split up that environment, right? Like, there's new research and there's, like, some type of, ad.
Maybe banners.
Yeah, something, like some type
Yeah,
of ad or trending,
yeah.
trending a little bit, something. So I think that we just dive in. Obviously this is early inception type phase, diving in and looking at the different models and figuring it out. I think will be good. I'm really excited because I think
Hey,
that
me too. Yeah.
the yeah, bro. Like, I think that it does, it's moving in the direction that needs to happen, right?
Mhm,
It's going to help a lot of people. Hopefully it's a useful tool so people can actually use the tool to maybe stay
mhm,
more organized, in a social type of way, right? With their fellow researchers, around the world, right? They can potentially add on to the same subject, be co-contributors on a particular subject, right? Or the same article, because
mhm.
they could be researching on the same thing with the same project and, across the globe, and they can both contribute. And maybe you can have we in the upload information section, it can be upload from various things for the same article or add to this, right? Like on Wikipedia, how you can add to it,
Right, right.
or edit it,
Exactly. Yeah.
but then also diving in to the commercial, possibilities, right? Because it's like you already have these companies, when they release a shareholder update, quarterly updates, whatever it might be, they release a press release, right, on some of the various press release, uh sites. And so it's,
Mm.
you hear.
Yeah. She sounds happy.
Yeah, always happy, man,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah,
It-
never sad. Isn't that funny? I like occasionally, but just out of brattiness. Never because, like, life is really hard, and I think that's like it's the best you can do. You know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what's up, Ken. I think that we have a good path forward. I I believe I believe we have a good path forward, which is super cool. And anybody that can help with any of this from within the DAO, I think would be fantastic. I mean, we have a lot of amazing participants, driving a lot of the growth forward right now.
Mhm.
So looking good.
Yep. So we're still early, building out the platform, uh, and looking to do some of the initial recruitment. I am just putting together the strategies of who to approach and how and when and how to incentivize them. So if anybody wants to uh, contact me early while they can still be really hands on and kind of shaping the plan or have any input, but please do contact me or the best way you can. Um, you should know how to find me if you tweet me. I'm at Crypto News Net. It's right there. And otherwise, if you get in contact with Joey or T, they'll always know how to find me or forward information.
Ken, I think this feels like, through your various degrees and experience in life, like who could be better situated to conceptualize and move forward at building something like this, right?
Hey, you never know when the things that you do along the path of life will eventually put you in the right situation with a group looking to do something that you can actually make a contribution to. So I think it's exciting in that same way. Like if I were thinking about who I want to do that job, I do have a sales background, a business background, an academic writing background. Like it just all makes sense for me.
Yeah.
So so I appreciate being able to put those things to use.
Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
cool. I mean, like, just so that people know out there might not be anybody, you know, better positioned to to manage and move this forward than Ken. So thanks, Ken. Super
Hey,
happy.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Should we cut it short for today? I think we got it, right?
Yeah, I think it's good. We'll do this and pick up in our normal kind of format, unless something else pressing comes. Pick up on our normal format next time.
Cool. Hey, when my stomach growls, like my stomach was just growling, can you hear it through the mic?
I cannot, but I'm sure now that our listening audience will be trying to pick up, they'll have it all turned up next time, trying to listen to your stomach.
Great.
All right.